Resourcing the Energy Transition, Principles to Guide Critical Energy Transition Minerals Towards Equity and Justice report released by UN Secretary-General's Panel on Critical Energy Transition Minerals, CETMs, established to develop guiding principles for energy transition. Report outlines 7 guiding principles and 5 actionable recommendations to ground the renewables revolution in justice and equality. Niti Aayog releases expert group report on future pandemic preparedness. Key recommendations: governance, enacting Public Health Emergency Management Act (FEMA) to address aspects beyond epidemics, including non-communicable diseases, disasters, and bioterrorism. Creation of an empowered group of secretaries on pandemic preparedness and emergency response (PPR), chaired by Cabinet Secretary. Setting up of a special PPR fund. Existing framework for epidemic pandemic management, public health and sanitation is under Entry 6 of the State List, 7th Schedule. Entry 29 of Concurrent List empowers center and state both to legislate for prevention of infectious or contagious diseases from one state to another. International Health Regulation, 2005, provides legal framework for states in handling public health emergencies. Integrated Disease Surveillance Program provides for disease surveillance. Union Cabinet modified the Scheme for Faster Development of Hydroelectric Projects (HEP) and Improvement of Infrastructure in Remote and Hilly Project Locations. Scheme of Budgetary Support for Cost of Enabling Infrastructure for HEP was launched by Ministry of Power in 2019, along with other measures to promote hydropower sector in India. It provided budgetary support for constructing roads and bridges connecting major dam, powerhouse and other project infrastructure with nearest state national highway. Eligibility: HEPs greater than 25 megawatts capacity including private sector projects and all pumped storage projects. Other measures for development of HEP declaring large hydropower projects greater than 25 megawatts projects as renewable energy sources. Hydropower purchase obligations, HPOs, requiring entities to purchase electricity from HEPs. Classification of hydro projects based on installed capacity. Micro up to 100 kW. Mini 101 kW to 2 megawatts. Small 2 megawatts to 25 megawatts. Mega hydro projects with installed capacity is equal to 500 megawatts. In India, the oldest hydropower power plant is in Darjeeling district in West Bengal, commissioned in the year 1897. India has the 4th largest railway system in the world, behind only the US, Russia and China. Second Asia Pacific Ministerial Conference on Civil Aviation, APMC, concluded with unanimous adoption of Delhi Declaration. APMC, which also celebrates 80 years of International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, has been organized by Ministry of Civil Aviation and ICAO. Key commitments under Delhi Declaration. Reaffirming Asia and Pacific Ministerial Declaration on Civil Aviation, Beijing pursue implementation of State Safety Program, Asia Pacific Seamless Air Navigation Service Plan. International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, Genesis, established in 1944 on basis of Chicago Convention. It is a United Nations specialized agency. Members, 193. India is a member. Headquarters, Montreal, Canada. Key agreements and initiatives are Carbon Offsetting and Reduction Scheme for International Aviation, CORSIA, and Long-Term Aspirational Goal, LUTAG. In Jasila Shaji vs. Union of India case, 2024, the Supreme Court highlighted the rights of detained person, to make an effective representation against preventive detention. Highlights of the judgment: Detenu has the right to be furnished with the grounds of detention along with the documents relied on for such detention. If there is failure or even delay in furnishing those documents, it would amount to denial of the right to make an effective representation under Article 22(5) of the Constitution. Article 22(5) mandates that detaining authority must inform detenu as soon as practicable of grounds on which detention has been made. Provide detenu the earliest opportunity of making a representation against detention order. Preventive detention Article 22(3) allows the authorities to detain individuals for preventive reasons, such as the maintenance of public order or national security. The Constitution provides for certain safeguards. No preventive detention law should authorize the detention beyond 3 months unless an advisory board approves it. Grounds for preventive detention shall be communicated earliest. Provide earliest opportunity of making a representation. Laws for preventive detention are National Security Act, 1980, Unlawful Activities Prevention Amendment Act, 1967, Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Activities Act, COFEPOSA, 1974, Prevention of Black Marketing and Maintenance of Supplies of Essential Commodities Act, PBMSEK, 1980. Recently, the flight test of VL-Shrasam has been successfully conducted by Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO, and Indian Navy from the Integrated Test Range, ITR, in Chandipur, off the coast of Odisha. Flight test was carried out from a land-based vertical launcher. About VL-Shrasam, it is a vertically launched surface-to-air missile with all-weather capability for use by Indian Navy. It is a ship-borne weapon system designed to neutralize various aerial threats at close ranges, including sea-skimming targets. Delhi government is preparing to spray biodecomposer, an alternative to stubble burning, over 5,000 acres of farmland. About biodecomposer developed by Indian Agricultural Research Institute, IRI. Biodecomposer is a microbial liquid spray, consortium of 7 fungal species. It can degrade diverse horticultural and agricultural residues. Able to decompose the agri-residue in situ within 25 days. Kerala Cabinet clears proposal to constitute 7th State Finance Commission. Article 243I was introduced by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. Article 243Y provides that SFC shall make similar recommendations for municipalities. National Instructional Media Institute, NIMI. NIMI has recently launched YouTube channels to make vocational education more accessible for IT students. Genesis, set up in 1986 by name of Central Instructional Media Institute by Government of India as a subordinate office. Registered as a society under Tamil Nadu Societies Registration Act 1975. Renamed as NIMI in 2003. Functioning autonomous institution under Government of India, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, MSDE, Directorate General of Training, DGT, New Delhi. Objective: Nodal agency to develop instructional materials, e-content, question banks, train media developers and trainers. Enable translation of books into Hindi and other regional languages. Indian Army contingent departs for 5th edition of India-Oman Joint Military Exercise Al-Najah. Exercise Al-Najah has been held biennially since 2015, alternatively between India and Oman. Exercise will take place at Rabkut Training Area in Salalah, Oman. Mexico became the first country to approve popular election of judges. Geographical features region is part of Ring of Fire, characterized by active volcanism and frequent seismic activity. Major rivers, Rio Grande, Colorado. Mountain range, Sierra Madre Oriental and Sierra Madre Occidental, extension of Rocky Mountains. Major mountain peaks, Pico de Orizaba, Popocatépetl. SCBI approves 10 times hike in NSE's authorized share capital to 500 crore rupees. Establishment year, incorporated in 1992, recognized as stock exchange by SCBI in 1993 and commenced operations in 1994. National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development, NABFID. Central Government, under Companies Act, 2013, notified NABFID as a public financial institution, PFI. Only institutions established under any central or state act or whose at least 51% paid-up share capital is held by central or state government can be notified as PFI. NABFID was established as an infrastructure-focused development financial institution, DFI, under the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development Act, 2021. It was established to support the development of long-term non-recourse infrastructure financing in India, including development of bonds and derivatives markets. Rangeen Machli App, developed by ICAR Central Institute of Freshwater Aquaculture with support from the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. From the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Objective: provides multilingual information on popular ornamental fish species in 8 Indian languages. The United Nations International Day of South-South Cooperation was observed. This year's theme is A Better Tomorrow Through South-South Cooperation. It is observed annually on 12th September, as established by General Assembly Resolution 58/220. This date commemorates the adoption of the Buenos Aires Plan of Action, BAPA, in 1978, which promotes technical cooperation among developing countries. The concept of cooperation among developing countries originated from the Afro-Asian Conference held in Bandung in 1955. This conference led to the establishment of the Non-Aligned Movement in 1961 and the creation of the Group of 77, G77, in 1964. The G77 mainly promoted South-South cooperation in the 1960s and 1970s. South-South cooperation is key to achieving SDG 17, which focuses on revitalizing the global partnership for sustainable development. It also supports SDG 11, which aims to make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. The United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, UNOSC, it was created in 1974 to promote, coordinate and support South-South and triangular cooperation globally and within the United Nations. System. The South-South Galaxy, it is a global knowledge-sharing and partnership platform launched in 2019. South-South and Triangular Cooperation, SSTC supports development across sectors like agriculture, health, and education. The World Food Programme, WFP, has been actively involved in facilitating SSTC, utilizing mechanisms like the South-South Trust Fund. India has played a significant role in SSTC through projects like the Pan-African E-Network, India-Brazil-South Africa Fund, and International Solar Alliance, ISA. Growing concern of dark patterns in India's digital landscape. Dark patterns are deceptive tactics used by online platforms to mislead customers and prevent them from making right choices. By exploiting human psychology and clever design, Dark patterns benefit companies at the expense of consumers. Common dark patterns include creating a false sense of urgency to rush users into making purchases, hiding subscription cancellations. The tactics are unethical and undermine the integrity of the design process. The practices fall under Unfair Trade Practices category under Consumer Protection Act, 2019. The Central Consumer Protection Authority, CCPA, has notified the Guidelines for Prevention and Regulation of Dark Patterns, 2023, under Section 18 of the Consumer Protection Act, 2019. The guidelines have a list of 13 specified dark patterns. These are false urgency, basket sneaking, confirm shamming, forced action, subscription trap, interface interference, bait and switch, drip. Pricing, disguise advertisement, nagging, trick question, SaaS billing. And rogue malwares. The Consumer Protection, E-commerce, Rules, 2020 prohibits e-commerce entities from indulging in unfair trade practices. The Digital Personal Data Protection Act, 2023 states the requirement of free and unambiguous consent of individuals prior to the processing of their personal data. Global initiatives in the European Union, regulations such as the Digital Services Act, DSA, General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, and the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, UCPD, address the concerns of dark patterns. The External Affairs Minister stopped by the replica of the East Gate of Saatchi's Great Stupa standing in front of Humboldt Forum Museum in Berlin. Construction of Saatchi Stupa. It was built by Ashoka in the 3rd century BC. Its construction was overseen by Ashoka's wife Devi, who hailed from the nearby trading town of Vidisha. The development of the Saatchi complex was supported by patronage from Vidisha's mercantile community. Rediscovery of Saatchi Stupa. It was in abject ruins when it was discovered by British officer Henry Taylor in 1818. Alexander Cunningham led the first formal survey and excavations at Saatchi in 1851. It includes the Shalbhanjika, a fertility emblem represented by a yakshi grasping the branch of a tree, elephants, winged lions, and peacocks. However, the gates do not represent the Buddha in his human form. Philosophical significance. The 3 curved architraves, or beams, have the following philosophical significance. Upper architrave, it represents the 7 Manushi Buddha, previous Buddha's incarnation. Middle architrave, it depicts the scene of the great departure, when Prince Siddhartha leaves Kapilvastu to live as an ascetic in search of enlightenment. Lower architrave, it depicts Emperor Ashoka visiting the Bodhi tree under which the Buddha attained enlightenment. How is NanoDAP different? NanoDAP comes in liquid form. It is logistically easier to manage and more cost-effective than the granular DAP. The government is planning to implement a Global Navigation Satellite System, GNSS-based toll collection system starting April 2025. Unlike the fixed tolls of the FASTag system, GNSS will charge based on the actual distance traveled. To use GNSS, vehicles will need a special onboard unit, OBU, which may eventually come factory installed in new vehicles. The 7th edition of Exercise Eastern Bridge between the Royal Oman Air Force and the Indian Air Force began at Air Force Base Masira, Oman. Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology, CSTT, prepares and publishes standardized scientific and technical terminology in Indian languages through expert committees. This terminology is used for textbook creation, educational content, and by various government institutions. What is the Shabda Glossary platform? Shabda is a digital platform hosting all CSTT glossaries in a searchable format. It acts as a central repository for technical terms across 22 official Indian languages. The Indian Railways is planning to conduct field trials of the country's first hydrogen-fueled train by January 2025. Designs for the hydrogen plant have been approved by PESO, Petroleum and Explosives Safety Organization. On-board hydrogen safety approval is underway with TÜV-SÜD, a global third-party safety auditor. A panel discussion on reducing remittance costs was held at the WTO Public Forum in Geneva. India has proposed reducing the high cost of cross-border remittances at the WTO. The 1997 Restatement of Values of Judicial Life, a document adopted by the Supreme Court of India, serves as a code of conduct for judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts. This 16-point document is crucial in maintaining the judiciary's independence, credibility, and impartiality. It emphasizes key principles such as impartiality, dignity, and the need for judges to remain aloof from political and social controversies to safeguard public confidence in the judiciary. According to the International Energy Agency, IEA, the cost of producing green hydrogen can range from $3 to $8 per kilogram, significantly higher than grey hydrogen produced from fossil fuels. The cost of alkaline electrolysis has decreased by 40% between 2014 and 2019, but further cost reductions are needed to make green hydrogen competitive. Green hydrogen is produced through electrolysis, which requires substantial amounts of electricity. As of 2023, the production cost of green hydrogen remains high compared to conventional hydrogen. A group of 30 pioneering European energy companies officially launched HYDEAL Ambition with the aim of delivering 100% green hydrogen across Europe at a low cost of Euro 1.5 kg. The Global Hydrogen Coalition is a prominent example of a platform that brings together governments, industry leaders, and research institutions to drive innovation in hydrogen technologies. Collaborative infrastructure projects, like the Asia-Pacific Hydrogen Association's regional networks, illustrate how shared facilities can decrease costs. According to the European Commission, the availability of rare materials for electrolyzer and fuel cells presents another challenge. The need for metals like platinum and iridium can constrain the scalability of green hydrogen technologies. The EU's hydrogen roadmap indicates that achieving the necessary scale for green hydrogen production requires coordinated efforts across industries and governments. An estimate from a recent Hydrogen Council report suggests that Asia will require $90 billion investment in hydrogen projects by 2030. Power Secretary Pankaj Agrawal reported on August's concerns raised by India regarding EU regulations. The issue relates to the European Union's EU, RED II, which, along with the Delegated Act, defines a methodology for the source of renewable electricity used for the production of green hydrogen. Concept of additionality. Definition: additionality requires that after a phase-in period, a renewable energy plant should not be older than the electrolyzer and must be located in a low-carbon bidding zone. Green hydrogen standards. In Europe, green hydrogen is defined only if the electricity used is generated in the same hour as the hydrogen. Production. Current system. Europe has complex bidding zones that stipulate that electricity must be generated and consumed in the same bidding zone for it to be deemed green. Impact on imports. These rules apply to imports, including those from India, which complicates hydrogen production. Straitjacket effect. Jorgo Chatzimarkakis, CEO of Hydrogen Europe, argues that these rules hinder hydrogen production in Europe and India. The concept of using fecal matter as a medical treatment, known as fecal microbiota transplantation, FMT, has gained attention as a game-changer for treating gut disorders, despite its initial unsettling nature. FMT involves the transfer of fecal material from a healthy donor into the gastrointestinal tract of a patient with an imbalanced or unhealthy gut microbiota. FMT helps to correct disruptions in the gut microbiome, often caused by factors such as antibiotics, steroids, or infections like Clostridium difficile, a bacterium that can cause diarrhea, colitis, and serious bowel problems. Gut microbiota. It refers to the vast collection of trillions of microorganisms, including bacteria, viruses, fungi, and protozoa, that inhabit the human gastrointestinal tract. This diverse community plays a crucial role in maintaining overall health and supporting various bodily functions. It helps in breaking down complex food components and produces essential vitamins like B12 and K. Beneficial microbes prevent harmful bacteria from colonizing the gut. Metabolism and energy balance influences fat storage, energy absorption, and has links to obesity, metabolic disorders, and including autism. Recently, studies over Japan at altitudes up to 10,000 feet have found different bacteria and fungi types in the air, which could be the cause of Kawasaki diseases. The samples contained a rare mineral called hafnium, likely originating from Chinese mines. Hafnium is a good absorber of neutrons and is used in the control rods of nuclear reactors. Hafnium is also used in vacuum tubes as a getter, a material that combines with and removes trace gases from vacuum tubes. Hafnium has been used as an alloying agent in iron, titanium, niobium, and other metals. According to the official airline guide, OAG, as report, Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport, IGIA, secured 24th position among the top 50 most internationally connected airports worldwide, reflecting its growing importance as a global aviation hub. OAG is the world's leading data platform for the global travel industry. According to the report, the first position was secured by London's Heathrow Airport, LHR, followed by Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KUL, in Malaysia. IGI Airport has been awarded as the first net-zero carbon emission-compliant airport in India. It is the only airport in the country with 4 runways. It also inaugurated the country's first elevated cross-taxiway in 2023. Recently, the Border Security Force, BSF, has started using beekeeping as an innovative strategy to deter cross-border infiltration and smuggling activities from Bangladesh. BSF Jawans have been trained to use apiaries, box-like structures with frames where bees build hives. The bees are used to create a natural deterrent along the border, as the threat of bee stings discourages smugglers and infiltrators from approaching the fence. Philadelphia Corridor. It is a 14 kilometers long strip of land that represents the entirety of the border area between Gaza and Egypt. It includes the Rafah crossing and runs from the Mediterranean Sea to the Kerem Shalom crossing with Israel. Under the Camp David Peace Treaty 1979, a limited number of Egyptian troops were allowed, but no heavy armor was permitted. SaaS is a cloud-based method of delivering software where users subscribe to access applications on the internet rather than purchasing them outright. The software is located on external servers rather than on servers located in-house. SaaS vendors host services and applications for customers to access on demand. The United Kingdom has reportedly given clearance for Ukraine to use Storm Shadow cruise missiles to target Russian territories. It is a low observable, long-range air-launched cruise missile. What is the Mechanized Infantry Regiment Indian Army? It is an infantry regiment equipped with armored troops carriers and BMP-2 infantry fighting vehicles. The motto of the regiment is Valor and Faith. The regimental insignia of mechanized infantry consists of BMP infantry vehicle and dragger placed on it. The Mechanized Infantry Regimental Center is located in Ahmednagar, Maharashtra. What are coastal regulation zones? The coastal land up to 500 m from the high tide line, HTL, and a stage of 100 m along banks of creeks, estuaries, backwater and rivers subject to tidal fluctuations, is called the coastal regulation zone. A lion-tailed macaque, LTM, has given birth to a young macaque at the Chamundi Rescue and Rehabilitation Center for the Wild Animals at Kurgali on the outskirts of Mysore, Karnataka. The lion-tailed macaque, Macaca silenus, is an Old World monkey. One of the distinguishing features of this species is that males define the boundaries of their home ranges by calls. In the wild, these are only native to India. It is a primate endemic to small and severely fragmented rainforests of the Western Ghats in Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Conservation status: IUCN Endangered. Cites Appendix I. The Wildlife Protection Act, 1972, Schedule I. Tardigrades, often called water bears or moss piglets, are microscopic eight-legged animals. They are free-living tiny invertebrates belonging to the phylum Tardigrada. Considered aquatic because they require a thin layer of water around their bodies to prevent dehydration, they've also been observed in all kinds of environments, from the deep sea to sand dunes. They belong to an elite category of animals known as extremophiles, or critters that can survive extreme environments. Their tiny bodies contain no bones and are instead supported by a hydrostatic skeleton, a fluid-filled compartment known as a hemolymph. Their specialized mouthpart, called a buccopharyngeal apparatus, allows them to suck the nutrients out of plants and other microorganisms. They comprise of two main classes, Heterotardigrada and Eutardigrada. They are able to survive harsh conditions, as they are capable of almost stopping their metabolism. Known as cryptobiosis, reviving only when conditions are better. The Himachal Pradesh State Assembly on Tuesday, 27 August 2024, passed a bill increasing the minimum age of marriage for women from 18 to 21 years in order to support gender equality and higher education. The UN Dublin Principle, 1992, emphasized on the importance of economic value of water in general and irrigation water in particular. The National Water Policy, NWP, 1987 mandated that water rates should convey the scarcity value of the resource to users. The NWP 2002 suggested that water rates should cover at least O&M cost initially and part of capital costs subsequently. OECD countries levy uniform volumetric charges. Tropical cyclone requirement. Low wind shear. It allows the storm to maintain its organization and strength. High wind shear removes the heat and moisture they need from the area near their center. Shear also distorts the shape of a hurricane by shearing it, blowing the top away from the lower portion so that the vortex is tilted. A tilted vortex is usually a less efficient heat engine. The delicate balance of inflowing low-level winds and outflowing upper-level winds that ventilate the storm gets disrupted. Converging winds. Tropical cyclones form in areas where winds are converging and rising. This allows for the development of thunderstorms and the low-pressure area that is the tropical cyclone. The National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, NCPCR, has told the Supreme Court that madrasas are unsuitable or unfit places for children to receive proper education. The submissions by NCPCR were in response to petitions challenging an Allahabad High Court judgment which struck down the Uttar Pradesh Board of Madrasa Education Act, 2004. The High Court had ordered the transfer of madrasa students to regular schools. The Apex Court stayed the implementation of the High Court decision in April. NCPCR monitors the implementation of laws like the Right to Education Act, 2009, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences, POCSO, Act, 2012, and Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children, Act, 2015. The Amazon rainforest, also known as Amazonia, is a vast tropical rainforest that covers much of the Amazon basin in South America. Recently, the third edition of the INDESEX Summit was held on 9 to 10 September 2024 in California. Full form, India-US Defense Acceleration Ecosystem, INDESEX. Launched in June 2023 by the US Department of Defense, DoD, and Indian Ministry of Defense, MOD. Other key features: it acts as an innovation bridge connecting defense startups of India and the USA. It is a part of the US-India Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technology, ICET. It is stayed by IDEX on behalf of Ministry of Defense and DU under the US Department of Defense, DoD, aim to expand strategic technology partnership and defense industrial cooperation between governments, businesses and academic institutions of India and US. Led by India's Innovations for Defense Excellence, IDX, and the Office of the Secretary of Defense, OSD. Activities: INDESEX will organize several initiatives such as joint prize challenges for startups, roundtable events, mentor-protege initiatives between major primes and startups, formation of a senior advisory group among others. This initiative builds on a commitment by the US and Indian national security advisors in January 2023. They committed to launch an innovation bridge to connect US and Indian defense startups as part of the US-India Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technology, ICET.